Hi guys, in this video we will be discussing in detail about tuples data type in Python and what are the operations that we can perform with tuples. In addition to that, we will also see what sort of loop operations or iterations that we can do on tuple. Yeah. Now, when you're defining a tuple, it is standard practice. Let's say I have a tuple of cars. I want to define a tuple of cars. Then I would be using a comma separated values as given here, in between parentheses. So this is the convention with which we sort of create a tuple in Python. Now, if you want to check the type of it, I would use type here. And then if I print cars, then it's going to bring me that it is going to belong to the type tuple. Yeah. Now, the difference between tuple and list is uh, lists are mutatable, or mutable. So what I imply by that is like list sort of supports an item assignment. So if I say cars of zero, so if I want to access the first item of tuple, I can simply specify as cars of zero and it is going to return me this BMV. Now, if I say cars of zero, if it was a list, right, it would perfectly allow me to change this to OD if I want to do so. But in case of tuple, it is going to throw me an error. And that's why tuple is sort of treated as I, you know, immutable data type. So if you are planning to initiate a tuple, there are multiple other ways as well. If there is only one item, please be noted that let's say I have cars. Again, usually tuples are represented in plural as well. If I specify that I wanna do only BMV, this is what I wanna do, then if you initialize that, it's gonna treat that as a string object rather than a tuple. So if you're defining a single item, then it is recommended that you put a comma here. It's a convention that you should put a comma there, just to show you guys. If I say print of cars, and then I'm gonna do print type of cars, it's gonna show me string. Whereas if I say cars is equal to BMV, and then I'm gonna separate it by a comma. Now if I say print cars and then print the type of cars, you would see that it is classifying that as a tuple. So please be aware that it is quite crucial if you are defining a single item in the tuple, where in the scenarios where you're dynamically generating the tuple and so on, it is crucial that the comma is sort of introduced to for Python to interpret that as a tuple instead of a string, as you guys saw here. Yeah. So now tuple can also hold another tuple inside. But before going there, I will show you that it also allows duplicates as well. So if I have two BMVs, it's totally fine. It's perfectly fine. It allows that to be, part of it. Now, if I say cars, inside this, I have another tuple of, let's say, let me add another tuple of Audi, and let's say I want to add Volvo. It's perfectly fine. It's gonna, you know, treat that as a tuple inside a tuple. And if I were to access that particular item, then similar to lists, what I should do is it's index based, right? So it starts from index of 0, 0, 1, 2, and 3. So if I just give 3, it's gonna print a tuple there. And if I want to check the type of it, just to show you guys that it is a tuple. Now what I can do is like I can simply specify cars 3, and if I want to access the position 0, which is Audi, then it's gonna print me Audi. So this is how you would access a tuple inside a tuple if there are nested tuples inside a tuple object. Now there is also one more thing that I wanted to show you guys is that you can also destructure a tuple. So what I imply by that is, for example, I have this cars, right? Instead of defining directly as cars, I can say it as car 1, car 2, and car 3. So if I print car 1 and then print car car 2 and then print car 3. It completely destructures individual items and then assigns that particular value to this variable. So destructuring is perfectly allowed. So if for whatever reason, let's say I want to change this item from BMV to something else, and how would I do that is, let's say I have cars, obviously printing cars is going to print me the same. Now if I reinitialize the cars with, let's say, Volvo instead of BMV, then the tuple would get modified. So this is not like mutating the tuple, but it is like reinitializing the variable, and therefore it would allow you to, modify the original tuple that got created. So with this way, you can sort of redefine the tuple if at all you're planning to modify. So now let's look at what sort of methods are permitted in tuple. So just to show you guys, let me print cars. You have three items. Now if I want to identify the total number of items in the tuple, then if I use the length function, then it's going to give me three items. There are like one, two, three items that are there. Now if I want to identify the minimum number of uh, you know minimum number in a list, in a tuple of items. Let's say I'm going to use create a numbers tuple. um, Now I'm also going to explain you this function which is called tuple, the way that which you can initialize a tuple. So you define that tuple, and then inside that I'm going to use list comprehension using a range function, and I would basically it creates a tuple of numbers that starts from 1 to and ends at 10. So as you can see here, it created a tuple of 1 to 10. So if I were to do only this, it's going to create a list of items from 1 to 10. But if you are to define use a tuple method or function for it, what it would do is like it will sort of uh, convert that into a tuple. Now we are going to use minimum and maximum functions on this particular numbers tuple. So if I say minimum of numbers, it's going to give me 1. If I say maximum of numbers, it's going to give me 10. So in this fashion, I would be able to identify what are the minimum and maximum numbers are there. Now, imagine that we have cars, right? So let's say I have cars, and in that cars, this is a tuple item, right? And for some reason, I also have, let's say, Volvo repeated twice. Now I want to identify what is the total number of occurrences of Volvo. Now there is a method in tuple that allows us to do it, and that is called as count. With that, what I can simply do is I can pass the value of the tuple that I'm interested about, and then it's going to print me that particular tuple count of that value. So usually, because I'm using Jupyter Notebook, I can give it directly here, but if you guys are using normal different um, IDs, then yeah, I would say use the print statement always. So print as soon as I print, it's going to give me a count of something. Now, if I say if there are no items that are given as a value here, it's going to return a value of 0. As you can see, it's going to indicate you that there are basically that item is not available in the tuple. Now, if you are interested to identify the index of a particular um, tuple item, then what you can do is like there is a method called index, and you can pass for which basically value are you planning to, are you interested to identify that particular index location. So in this scenario, I'm interested to know about the position in which the item food is present in the tuple. So it starts from 0 and 1, right? So the position is going to be 1, which is what this would print. Now be aware that because there are more than one items of Volvo here, so if I try to identify Volvo, it is always going to give me the first occurrence of that particular tuple item. So if I specify that here, because Volvo occurs as a first occurrence in index position 0, it has written me 0 there. So please be mindful of it. It is going to give you that particular first occurrence index only. Now, if you are planning to loop through a tuple, let's say I want to loop through a tuple for car in cars, I would like to print what are the items in the tuple, then it's totally fine. I would be able to print that particular um list of items in the tuple. So with for loops using this fashion, you would be able to identify whether or not it is available. I mean, so with this way, you would be able to access the items in the tuple and do any sort of operations that you're intending to do. So if at all you, so basically the difference between set and tuple, just to reiterate, is tuple is sort of immutable. So therefore you cannot modify that particular tuple items. And if at all you want to sort of put it in a frozen manner, which duplicates allowed, then it's best that you use tuple in order to do those manipulations. I hope you guys like this video. Please give a thumbs up if you like the video, and please do share and subscribe. Thank you.